Hello, good morning. Squeak that ball, Kiri, squeak that ball. It's time for the stream. Hello and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips, here hosted on the Painting Big channel this morning without a disembodied voice, Justin, because apparently the fire marshal said that Justin had to move stuff out of the studio for like a check of fire stuff or something. I don't know, but apparently Justin is like shifting stuff in and out of the studio today. And so he was unable to start the stream and everything is in disarray. Therefore, we are going it alone today, everybody. We're going it alone. Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm here. And Kiri squeaking her ball. She, however, is the cause of the great delay because, I mean, and David had to handle it today, guys. There was much angst. I feel bad because she started to have a poop explosion and he managed to get her outside, but he couldn't get her leash on in time. And then she proceeded to chase her all around the floor we're on, and there was much to clean up. Let's just put it that way. There was a lot to clean up because Kiri's like, oh no, David is chasing me, and David's like, darn it, dog, let me put your leash on. So David is getting all the experiences of a pet owner now. He's making up for the last all of his life up to this point where he has not had an animal. Sadly, most of the time, happily, Kiri is a wonderful dog who's very sweet and well behaved, but every once in a while, yeah, poop explosion does sound like a weapon for Borderlands. Borderlands people, if you see this stream, take that to heart, please. And it needs to have a happy little dog face on the gun. Just so you know. Or the muzzle needs to be shaped like a dog. I don't know. Something like that. The latest WoW expansion. No, the latest WoW expansion looks good, though.
Are you getting any Kiri emotes in chat?
Oh yeah, guys, you should have Kiri emote. I think you have Kiri emote. They were using it in my Discord yesterday. So if you look, there's a happy Kiri. There's unfortunately not an oh no Kiri. I have to get an oh no Kiri face. That's my last emote that I want. Yeah. Yeah, Twisted Homer, right, to break out their exercise today. Oh my god. So sorry for the late start. And then Justin only got me this morning to tell me that I had to stream on my channel too. So it was like this morning where I woke up and I'm like, yeah, Friday, and then all this crap happens. Literally. So then Friday is just trying to give me a reality check and say, listen, I may be Friday, but I can still be a part Monday. So yeah, there we go. I'm gonna keep my Kiri emergency stream delayed flag, however, just in case for the future. Oh my god, it was such an entertaining morning, in a bad way. Oh no, and I forgot my paint water and my palette, which are over there on the counter. And I was also brewing tea. Oh dear, it's just I'm in disarray. But don't worry, guys, we're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna talk more about the D&D thing that I started yesterday, the D&D stream. We're going to talk about it because I'm so excited about it that I can't stop talking about it. So we'll talk about it while we paint, all right? So I've got my tea here. I'm going to go and grab my water cup and my palette, and then we will begin. We will work on Sneck today. We may work on something else also, though, just because Sneck is, her base is almost all set up, but I don't know that I want to start water effects today because it's Friday. Water effects just seem more like a Monday thing. But anyway, so I will be right back, and I'll get my stuff, and then we'll start. I promise this time. I promise. Kiri, don't explode.
Oh, I was looking for that.
My people.
I couldn't figure out where you left the creamer, so I couldn't put it away.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because I just put it in. I forgot this. Do we need more what? Yeah, you can get me a bag of arugula if you want, but I ordered, or you may want to get, I don't know, we've got a big box of spring mix. We should be okay. I think we should be okay, David.
On both?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, give me one bag of arugula.
Okay.
Alright, sorry, David's about to go to the store. So I'm in disarray. I'm just in disarray. I'm just gonna embrace the chaos, guys. I'm gonna embrace it. Where's Snack? Snack, I need you! Snack. So I want to thank you all for coming out yesterday to my personal private stream. And if you're watching this on the Reaper Miniatures Twitch, if you would come on over to twitch.tv/paintingbig, that's the actual channel I'm on, it will help with my Twitch numbers, and I would really, really, really appreciate it. Super. So let's go and play a bit on Snack. And I think I want to get my blue in there today. As I recall, I was using Monarch Purple as my starter, and then I came up with Tropical Blue, I believe, because that's what I like to use for this sort of underlighting effect. Yeah, Tropical. So let's grab those. What did you do, Squeaky Ball? Is it squeak time again? You're a good girl. You threw it over there, though, didn't you? I thought threw me the ball, but then it bounced. There it is. Good girl. Get it. Get your ball. Did you throw me another ball? I don't know. The dog is confused. I'm confused. It's that day. Yeah, well, you know, I really miss, I mean, I had a regular role-playing group for much of the time when I was in Texas, and sometimes it's hard to make time for it and everything, but I was just having some thoughts about all the fun stuff we could do on the new D&D category stream that we're doing. Let me just get my camera all aligned here. Everything is a little bit crooked. Anne is a little bit crooked today. Oh, you haven't seen her. Yeah, Inara, I have to fix her tail. I have to fix her tail, and I have to do the metallics, where I did the shade of metallics. Here, let me get her in focus. Focus, focus, snake lady, focus. There we go. I have to do the shade of metallics that I did up here on her sleeves, on her, the rest of her metallics, essentially. I blocked those in, we got it kind of figured out, and then, we stopped. So I need to do the metallics all on, like, up here on her bracer and on the back, and I need to fix the back of her tail. But I was just working on the rocks and getting that, kind of that little bit of fire. You can see I brought them up with a bit of brown. This is all sculpted base. A lot of you guys may have seen me sculpt it. So it's just like green stuff, over cork. And when you bring the green stuff up and you build up rock stuff around the cork, you can really get it to look not like cork. It looks like a natural base. So that is the nice thing about her. And of course, this is 38888888888. I guess that many eights is really logical in the item number of a snake lady. Hey, Nomad Zeke, thank you for the sub. Yay! 2-month streak. Awesome. Yeah. So that's what we'll do. We'll do our rocks. We'll maybe, we'll put in some of our shadows on our metallics, because I was using the same purple. This is Monarch. It's arguably one of my favorite purples in Master Series. I think. Hey guys, any word on the great paint debacle of 2020? The cancellation stuff. Any word on it? I haven't heard. It's Friday, so I would expect probably if we haven't heard anything. Oh, thank you for the sub! Anti-Nemesis. And apparently Zombie George, again, is sleeping in. This is so weird. Like, when I have a stream later in the day, Zombie George announces everything. But when I'm streaming in the morning, Zombie George is, like, nowhere to be seen to announce my subs and my follows. So I'm just gonna have to keep an eye on things. They said today. Yeah, I would guess either today or Monday. It depends on if Ed has had time to formulate policy. I'm just looking forward to the list so that I could get going on, like, kind of a substitutions list for you guys. Kind of like the nearest thing to kind of list, or how you can make stuff. Like Regal Purple, which is the shadow of Monarch, and I believe that it is, it may be on the list of chops. Oh, I see. I see, Carrie Michael. Yeah. That also takes a lot of time out of Sadie's day. So, well, if she's going to do it, then awesome. She could get a lot of stream mileage out of that, definitely. I think I want to block in just a little bit of purple on the underside of the base here. Yeah, she could do it or I could do it. I could probably do it faster. But if Sadie is going to do it like on her stream or something, I'm totally not going to upstage her then. She could totally have that. I'm just going to pop some purple down into the shadows here. This is such a dark purple that it's really not going to be real evident that you're painting it down here. Like, you can see it a little bit there. But it really is kind of an undertone, and you really only picks up when you start adding the blue tones to it. Where, just like under here, the purple is really understated. The purple is the color I wanted this this cloth to be. But then it's really the blue under reflection really takes over and pops up. So sometimes it works like that. You can see a little bit of my green stuff, see? So yeah, I'm pretty much just going to block in a lot of purple, just a solid bank of this purple on the underside of rocks. I'm going to ignore anything that faces upward, like this stepstone right here, and you can see the light from my ring light hitting these stones right here, so they're not going to get any shadow. This one gets a little bit. In fact, having the ring light is a nice guide because it can kind of show me where are my shadows. If I wonder if a rock is getting hit with light, it'll be very evident when I look at it under my ring light. So lots of purple. Lots of purple in the shadows. We're doing a lot of saturated shadows on this one. And by saturated shadows, I mean we're working bright colors into our shadows. It's not a very realistic look, but it can be very striking. So if you're doing a dramatic effect, it's a cool thing to do. Alrighty, so we're getting more of that purple. See that purple? You can really see it now when you look at it next to the yellow orange highlights I've got here. Hey there, Night. Yeah, it was a morning. Yeah, I was going to do a PDF for the Patreon just as a public file or something in our just to help people. I've got a big list now of stuff that I want to do. Man, I've got so much to do. I love it. I love that I have so much to do, and I'm super excited about the future. But yeah, I've got a long list. Actually, I'll make a note of that PDF, because if I didn't have sticky notes, I would be hopelessly disorganized, I swear. So really, we want to make sure that we remember to get a PDF list of matches or close matches. Matches/mixes for canceled item numbers. Patreon free. I have wanted to do more free content for the Patreon, just more public stuff, so that people, can have some help. And hey, it gets them to my Patreon. Maybe they'll actually sign up for the $2 level. You never know. My Patreon, for those who care, is patreon.com/paintingbig. And I'm just like super happy with it lately. Everything is going swimmingly. I should be all caught up on my coachings by the end of like 6 days from now, because I'm gonna bust my butt. I really enjoy busting my butt for you guys and getting a lot of content out there. All right, so you can see the purple a little bit here, and just a hint of it. So let's get some blue in there. Take time to rest and breathe a little. Yeah, right. Like that's gonna happen. Sadie did say Ed went not you too when she tried to protect her paint racks at her party. Yes. Yeah, Sadie is attached to the paint line like I'm attached to the paint line. That's why she's a great replacement for me. So, okay, so you can see the purple there on the bottom that we were bringing in. See, isn't that a kind of a cool effect with that purple shadow with that with the more yellowy orange brown rocks? I think that's pretty cool. So now we're going to come in and bring in some blue. And I'm going to thin this way down. I'm probably going to do some mixes with the purple. This is tropical blue. Even though it's a greenish blue, so you wouldn't think it would work well with the purple, I just really like it if I'm trying to get kind of a subterranean reflected light, like a really blue reflected light, like at dusk or twilight. Good morning, Daffodweir. So I really do enjoy this blue, and think it's way cool. Cool, haha. But it's neat for these shadows. So, and I just use a little bit of it. You can see how I just use a tiny bit, mostly blended with the purple. And then down here, I can bring it up. I probably want to bring up a little bit. I might want to even just mix it into my snack color of my my Viper Green to kind of bring all that up, because I do need a delineation color. So, okay, so here's the thing, guys. Let me talk to you about a light effect that is why this is not reading correctly here and why it is reading correctly in other places. When you have one light source that meets another light source, like when you've got the fireball light and then you've got an ambient light, this blue light that's reflecting the evening light from the swamp or forest around her, which is reflecting back. Whenever you have those things and they meet, so, and this applies if you're doing a bust, for example, with a warm light on one side of the face and a cool light on the other side of the face, you need a dark shadow to split those light sources. If you look at a face that's lit like that, you will see a very subtle line of shadow right between where those light sources meet. And you have to have that, or it doesn't look right. This is not looking right now, except it looks a little right there, but it needs more, because we need a shadow line. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to block in a shadow with my purple and see how that works. So it's dark. It's a dark color. And I need to make sure also that I'm putting it in the right place. Like really it needs to be like probably down here. And we need only a little bit of that green showing. Because if we think about it, the light is really going to be hitting all of those scales up there. It's really where the scales are kind of perpendicular to the light source that's going to start to transition. You don't need to keep this shadow very large, but it does need to be there for light. See, already it's looking better. See how amazing that was? Like, it didn't look good over here at all. And now you add that purple shadow, and then it's like, oh, suddenly it looks right. So that's something to remember when you're dealing with dual light sources. There we go. Excellent. So the purple's working pretty good. I'm going to keep it. All right. Let's get this over here. Once again, if you're watching this stream on the Reaper Miniatures Twitch channel, because I am being piped over there right now, Justin couldn't actually start the stream on there, so right now I'm doing it on my own channel. But if you would like, you can come on over to twitch.tv/paintingbig, which is where I actually am, and help me up my viewer count. Because to get partner, I need 75 average viewers per stream. And we're getting there. Our numbers are rising, so I'm very happy about that. I'm going to put a little bit more of this over here, too, to make this... also, the shading green with purple, by the way, is also one of the great joys of life, and if you haven't done it, you should do it. Because it looks so awesome. It just looks so great. All right, cool. So I've got a purple shadow there. I've got my purple delineation shadow. Now that looks much cooler, much neater. That's really neat. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to thin down my blue. Maybe add just a touch of purple to the blue. Although I may not, because I may want it actually to grab some time. It's good because I have my Tanzia Jade out here, and that's what I was actually using for the cool parts of the snake scales. So I'm going to grab some of that. There. I think when I was doing the shading here, I may have also used like a bit of cyan blue. I'm seeing a little bit of the blue shadow and then a little bit of a blue glaze over this under reflection on the gold. So we'll play with that today too. Why not? We can do anything we want. Ed said he'll be putting out a PDF of the paints within the next day or so. Okay, cool. That's great. Good enough, really. This is a metal model, so she's a little bit prone to rub off. So I'm going to grab some of my Tanzia Jade. I am going to bring it back underneath here, because it's a nice cool green. I'm going to kind of bring it in, smush it around a little bit. I do want to keep the shadow line, but I want a little bit of reflected light. So what I'm going to do is bring in this jade, and I'm going to highlight it a little bit with my blue. That's a little bit bright, but that's okay. It'll fade a little bit. And I can bring my purple in to knock it down just a little bit. Blending green and purple. What is the world coming to? I'm glad to be working on Sneck again. I like Sneck. Still think she would make a fantastic villain for a adventure story module. This is the sort of thing we'll be thinking about on our new stream on Thursday. For those who are not familiar with my Thursday stream, which started yesterday, thanks to Kaz and Val, who sub-bombed so many gifted subs into my channel that I had no choice, because I'd said if I reached a certain sub level this month, I would add another day of streaming. So we did, and they did, and I am, and what we're going to do is, we did yesterday, is we're going to stream on the D&D category instead of the regular art category, which is where we normally stream. It was very successful yesterday. I had a great time. I got a lot of people kind of stopping in to see what was going on. Some new friends showing up in the chat. I hope they come back. But what we're going to be doing is kind of creating an adventuring party. So I was just working on a commission model yesterday. But in the future, we're going to create a party of adventurers. We're going to choose the models for them, and we're going to paint them on stream. And while we paint them, we'll make up their backstories. And maybe we'll make up, actually, a little bit about where they live and, you know, how they got into the adventuring life and, you know, what's the city like. I kind of want a world build with you guys. Is what I'm coming down to here. If you're up for it on Thursday, just to fill the gap of not having a game right now, I would like to world build with all of you. I think that would be fun. We could create characters and we can create the world that they're in, or at least the immediate city or town that they're in. We'll figure out, where it is, what's it named, what's the character, what are the characters' names, what are their, where they come from, and we'll paint them accordingly with their personalities and backstories. Shadow Raven likes new people. Yeah. Let's world build. Yeah, it does sound like fun. That's my favorite part. I love world building. So I'm bringing some blue in. I'm just highlighting the scales a little bit on the bottom. And now I'm going to bring some blue into my purple for these shadows. So I need to kind of keep an eye out where my highlights are. There's a bit of shadow down here. You don't, again, you want that dark delineation area. So you don't want to put your blue right up against your brown. You just want to introduce a little bit of underlighting here and there. I'm going to grab my tropical blue and see if I can bring it in a bit more. And also to look at, yeah, I definitely haven't mixed with a bit of the purple here, so I need to watch it. I need to be careful. I don't want to go too overboard, so we'll do this test area back here to see if we can bring in some blue light without it being too overwhelming. But yeah, so I want to make these characters, and I want to create, at least create their starting city with you. With all my Twitch fam. I thought it would be a kind of a cool thing because that makes it more than a painting stream, and it makes it very D&D relevant, right? Because we're creating the characters and we're fleshing out characters maybe in different ways than you would normally do one for a game. I always I don't know if you guys ever tried this game, but there's a game out there that was created by one of the designers of 3.4. I think it was the old lead designer of 3.5 and the lead designer of 4th edition. They went out and they did their own thing and they made a game called 13th Age. And I played it for a while with my old D&D group in Texas. And the thing I loved about it is that although there is a basic fleshing out of the world, many of the details are left up to the players intentionally. So as long as the DM is on board. DM gets veto, of course, but like if you go into a new town, I was thinking like Obsidian Portal to kind of document the choices we make about the world. And I'm going to start very small. We're going to start with just the city that our adventurers meet in. So the first thing we probably have to do is decide whether it's a desert city, a mountain city, like a lowlands river city. Whether it's, at first I want an environment. I want a geography. I want a temperate. I want climate. Where are we starting? Are we going desert? Are we going, mountain? Are we going, near water? Are we going for a port city? At least a small, it may not be a big city. I think I want to make it kind of a struggling town. A town that is like maybe could be a city someday. Or maybe was a city in the distant past and got played out of things through politics or geography. Hey, Pendrake, how's it going? So I am doing what I was thinking of doing. I'll run this on because a lot of you guys are on that, or we're on that stream also. But what I'm thinking of doing is really just not using anything like, Roll20 or anything. I don't want to do that. I want this to be more like the chat chooses its own adventure. I kind of want that. Well, we're not going to get to the shadowy figure. Oh, shadowy figure in the tavern, you mean? All right, hold on. Let's make a note. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet, though. You're getting ahead of things, Shadow Raven. First, give me a geography, climate. What are we in? Mountains, desert, forest, flatlands, plains? Is it an agricultural city? Is it a port city? Is it a river city? What is it? Where are we? Are we in a swamp? Are we on a beautiful tropical coast? Are we an island? Where are we? First, start with that. Before you even know what kind of tavern you're going to have, you have to know that. You have to know where you are. Refresh, Pendrake. I'm not getting any drop frames according to OBS. Twitch has been twitchy. I think I'm going to get a little bit of white because I want this blue light to come up just a tad more. Swamp is like, is the most difficult, right? In a way. Because, well, for one thing, okay, first are you saying swamp because you want it to be like Dreadmere? I don't want to do a Dreadmere copy. So, if we're going to do swamp, we're going to make it really unusual. I have this, it probably comes from the fact that I am actually a writer, but I have this dislike of copying anything overtly that is already in fiction. I am A-okay to springboard off of stuff that's already in fiction. But I don't want to just end up using just the Dreadmere minis and, you know, having that kind of thing going on. That would not be cool for me. But I am open to swamp. We could look at some interesting swampy, because of course there's swamps and there's swamps, right? I mean, there's southern swamps and like there's, you know, kind of like there's like temperate rainforest type stuff, jungle swamps. Yeah. We could do that and still do jungle, Twisted Oma. So Port Town in the lowlands at the foot of high mountains. In a very temperate climate. Monkey Island swamps. So, okay. So we've got a freshwater source then if there is mosquito-infested water Polaris. Are mosquitoes the mascot of this city? Because they're bigger than the birds and nastier. Maybe they have a sturge infestation problem. That would be funny. All right, so I'm getting a picture of the city now. Thank you for, you know, for stepping up and giving us, you know, we're starting to see. And it's gonna be a small city, like I said. Maybe it's struggling. Now, is this a new city? Is this a city that maybe was a venture city that just hasn't worked out? Because it's little and it's struggling. So it's more really just a glorified large town at this point. That gives it room to grow during our adventures. So then the question is this like, was this actually an ancient site of a city and a new town was built on top of it? Or has this town been a true frontier town that is just growing up? What do you think? Or was this town actually started by some crazy merchant or noble and it just hasn't panned out? And maybe they even abandoned it. Right, exactly. That's what we need. There's exactly. Well, we can figure out resources after we figure out whether it's like figure out its age first. Is it new construction? Because that'll give us a clue, right? If it's built on top of an ancient setting, then there's probably natural resources. Like if there was an ancient city here and it's built on top. Yeah, struggling to survive, definitely. That's where the adventurers come in. But it helps to make things be pretty dire in the first place. You always want to put your characters in a tree and throw rocks at them. So our first rock is the fact that they're starting at kind of a down and out place. So yeah, so like if we decide there was like an ancient town or city here, then obviously there are resources, or there are at least rumored to be resources nearby. Maybe they thought there was treasure in the mountains and nothing came of it, or they discovered that there was too big of a like monster population to get at whatever it was. You know, we make up all this stuff. This is gonna be fun. But yeah, I think a struggling port city like that's in like a very temperate climate, jungle, has a backed by a range of mountains. So maybe it's like I'm looking. Boomtown. Yeah, maybe it's like it's struggling to boom. It's like getting there. So all right. So let's put it on top. Yeah, natural harbor, which means that there probably was an ancient city here, and it's built kind of on top of that. In fact, there may have been several towns built on here over the years, built up here, right? Yeah, exactly. Kind of like Theramore. I'm thinking like real world stuff. What it could be also is that it's a good stopover point on the way to a different port. Like maybe it's kind of between two big cities that are kind of feuding. And maybe that's why it didn't take off the way it was. And, you know, and it also makes sense then if it's on a good piece of land that is a good traveling stop point, that it would have been the site of a town in the past, right? Especially if it's got a natural harbor. So it's a good place for ships to kind of put over. But lately, maybe politics between the cities on either side of it have gotten poor. And so it has been kind of, there hasn't been a lot of trade and it's been kind of sagging. Plus, there's this monster problem. Because as you say, you know, they came, like, let's say they started this town relatively recently and they've been struggling to make it go, but the monsters aren't just going to give up, you know, their land. They're going to let these humans move in. Everybody knows if you let humans move into the neighborhood, that there goes the neighborhood. It's just ruined forever. So you think on a peninsula? I don't know, Pendrake. Maybe, yeah, maybe like, if it's jungle, we could do a volcanic caldera. If it's got a sheltered harbor, you could put a peninsula coming out into it. I guess we could do something like, so you've got a harbor, and then maybe you've got kind of a long peninsula going up like that, and like so, and city goes all around various areas here. Like you can have a snootier neighborhood over here. You know, they've got your docks area. Maybe this is the original site. Maybe a lot of the old city is underwater. Maybe it used to be like almost a caldera with like one opening or something like that. We can make it actually go like more like that. I don't know. That's interesting. That's an interesting thought. I always like to start with the world. I always like to build a really cool setting. And once you build the setting, your characters just come to you. Because you're like, okay, what kind of people would be here? And what would they be doing? Well, yeah, because everybody can always shelter up on that peninsula, right? So, like, if monsters, if they really had to cut out, let's say there's a wall, a really ramshackle wall, like, they really need to build a better wall, essentially. And maybe it's even an ancient wall. Like, you guys remember Isle of Dread, where there was, like, this giant gate and wall that was built across the island to keep the monsters at bay, and on the other side, there were just the natives who were terrified of the ancient, you know, giant wall that had been built. It could be like that. It could be like this ancient remnant that they've piled up and like kind of piled timbers against, and it has like, you know, it looks cool. It's an ancient gate built by who knows who, but yeah, the villagers or the townspeople have been using it just in case of monster intrusion. So that's like the emergency like bunker for the city if crazy stuff starts coming down from the mountains. Yeah, they probably get a lot of rainwater. I imagine if they're on the, we need to make them on the appropriate side of the mountains to get the precipitation. So pretty wet. And that means that they can actually capture a lot of that rainwater, so they have a fresh water source. Let's see. I want to accentuate my blue a little bit here. This is a pretty good start. This is a pretty good start on the world. All right, so we've got a little bit of blue. It's not showing up great, but it's there. I'm getting a little shiny. I think I want a little bit of a sealer. Sometimes when you're working with really dark paint over putty, you can, where's my sealer? There it is. You can get a little shiny, a little glossy. I can kind of see the shine on the walnut. I think I want a little bit of a dull coat of sorts, and so I'm going to reach for my anti-shine additive. Where are we? There we go. And my brush on sealer. Now, brush on sealer, if you shake it up well, is a satin. You want to always shake it up well. Like if you can see the little agitator bead on the bottom here stuck in, you have not shaken it well enough. I don't know about dinosaurs because I don't want to paint any, but we'll think about it. We'll think about it. Because dinosaurs are just big, and I don't have fun painting them very much. We'll see. But anyway, brush on sealer. So normally it's satin. If you drop it in a well and you add just a touch of water, it tends to matte out very well. But if you really want to make sure that you have it matte, you can add a tiny bit of anti-shine additive in addition, especially if you don't want to thin it too much. I'm very trepidatious about advising this because it's so easy to go too far. With your anti-shine additive. You really only want a tiny bit. Oop, I got a little bit of paint in there. That's all right, though. It's only going over rocks. Yeah, we'll see, Twisted Oma. Let's, it's possible, yeah, there are several layers. Like I mean, if it's Bronze Age or Stone Age, that's like the furthest depths, right? That's like the first layer of building that happened. And it's going to be mostly probably just stone and crude huts and things. There may have been an indigenous race here. It may even be non-human. It could have been an orc city that was here back that long ago. And that would be interesting, because that means that maybe the orcs were actually more civilized than other races at the beginning of this world, and they fell, and now their progeny, their many times descendants, live in the mountains nearby. So then we wonder, why did the orcs up? I really need to get a little bit, need to shake. The problem with the anti-shine additive is it's very thick and it's very strong. So sometimes you have to open the top and stir it around, or just scoop out a little bit to put on your paint. I think it's probably safer to put it on your paint. You can to scoop it out. What you can do also is, if you can poke it down and stir it in there, you can put a little bit of water. Like I like to add a little bit of water so that it gets a little bit both thinner and it's easier to work with. So I'm just going to put just like that dab that was on the end of my stirry tool into my sealer. You don't want to do too much of this stuff because it absolutely will frost if you add too much. Kind of like when you get to the, like if you get to the bottom of a bottle and you haven't, I'm just getting it kind of down in there. Also, if it's clogging in the top, all you have to do is kind of squeeze it till the air comes out and then tap it. And then you can see that you have room to add some water. And if you add water, it'll help keep it in solution. So this is how to work with the anti-shine additive and get the most out of it. So now it went down in there. I've got some drops of water. I'm gonna add a couple more. I want to thin this down actually in the bottle, I think, to the point where it works a little bit better. So squeeze, unsqueeze, put in a cap, shake like a demon. This could be fun. This could be fun. So a couple different layers of ruins. Possibly from different races, if this is a really useful place. So let's say 3 ages of ruins, and the third one is the current. So what I was saying, yeah, about 13th age, the role-playing game, is the cool thing is, like, the players are invited to help create the world. So although you have a world map, which gives, you know, your major cities and your major landmarks and all the cities and major NPCs here and there, and the gods, or the major heroes and movers and shakers of the world, are all delineated. But at the same time, if you walk into a city and your GM asks you, well, what you going to do? If as a player you speak up and you say, oh, well, my aunt has a weapons shop in this city, I want to go visit her, your GM can kind of make a judgment call and go, all right, your aunt does have a weapon shop in this city. This is her name, and her weapon shop is located in this quarter, and you go and visit her. What do? You know, the characters can actually help create the world. Like, if you want a silly bar named the Drunken Monkey that has actual drunken monkeys as mascots in the bar, perhaps even serving drinks, you can try to create that, and your GM can decide if they want it in the world or not. We're not there yet, Nomad Zeke. I was giving that as an example. and as to whether the GM in a 13th Age game would allow that, depends on how silly they are. I like a bit of silliness in my D&D, but I do not like rampant silly all over the place. I like some serious. I think it's hard to create a compelling story if everything is silly. So, although I like dashes of silliness, I also like dashes of seriousness. That said, people themselves can be silly, so although I do not like just random character silliness, if a character themselves is known to be frivolous, then it makes sense that there would be silliness introduced because of that, like NPC, you know, stuff like that. But a little bit of silliness. I don't like everything to be a pun, though. I don't like, you know... If you want to put Bloodbath and Beyond in your game, that's fine, but I'd kind of like to keep my puns not modern world references. Which is harder, right? It's harder to do that than to... Sometimes I envy urban fantasy writers because they can use all our modern societal callbacks to do stuff like that. Whereas if you're writing traditional fantasy, you have to stick to the time period, you know, and references that you create or that would be established in, say, the real world version of your fantasy world. So I'm trying to get some light and some bluer light in there. It's really hard to see. There's a little bit under the rocks. I don't know if this blue light's going to work very well, but I'm going to at least put it in. And I do want to bring up my light a little bit more up here. So we'll see. Mostly I just wanted to have some sort of reflected light on the underside here, so it wasn't all just dark. And I wanted it to be in tune with the light that's reflecting on the snake. So yeah. So we're pretty good. So let's come up with a name for our town, guys. This struggling tropical would be a paradise in under any other circumstances, except that, you know, there are tons of monsters and business hasn't been working out and people are going bankrupt all over the place, and it's really getting to the point where, you know, half of the governors might be pirates, you know, stuff like that. It's getting there. It's really it's at least in danger. Like, probably there is a pirate group that is putting some pressure on the town. And the town mayor, whoever the town mayor is, he or she is sweating it. Like, all the business interests are drying up. It's too hazardous. This is supposed to be a safe haven, but could be that the current leadership isn't after it. Could be that the current leadership is just not very experienced. Could even be that the current leadership is a popular adventurer who, like, when all is said and done, is great at fighting monsters, but not good at governing. Let's see here. Yeah, but I'm not Terry Pratchett, right? Like, I'm not him. It works, but it's, that is very silly, Margaret. Falomir. Well, okay, here's a different curveball, guys. If it's, let's not just go standard fantasy. Choose an ethnicity, a real world ethnicity. Hold on, do I have my character naming source book? I do. Hold on. All right, so I'm going to read off some cultural names of cultures and stuff, and let's figure out what kind of culture like is here in this town. Like, you know, you could go, like, if you went, for instance, New Orleans is a swamp town, and it's definitely from French, you know, origins. And we could do, like, fantasy versions of this. So it's like, you've got all sorts of interesting things you could do. Let's see here. Like, you could go faintly Egyptianish with it. You could go, I mean, obviously, if you're just going traditional pirate, you're almost going, like, Mediterranean kind of. That's not as interesting, in my opinion. I don't know, like, do we want to go, like, with the basic culture in this town, what kind of culture do we have? Is it, like, Persian? Is it, like, kind of, like, Arabesque? You know, like, or is it, like, you know, European invader? Or whatever is the equivalent in our particular world. This is where we come up against the, we don't know enough about our world yet, thing. That's where you stop and go, okay, well, first we have to probably figure out these two cities and what kind of cultures are in them. Because, I mean, it's easy to toss together a town name like Falomir. But we might want to not just go with the standard fantasy naming conventions. Could do Sumerian. Ah, yeah, Sumeria was a swamp town. Yeah, technically, because of the Nile, right? So it's possible that this city's... Remember, we've got 3 ages of this city, right? The first was really, really old, maybe even Orcish. The, like, Stone Bronze Age. And then the second would have been, you know, the one before this one. Probably the people who built that big gate that is currently used to section off the town when you guys are in danger. So whatever that is, perhaps there is a, let's see, Babylonian, huh? I wonder if I've got Babylonian in here. Pretty sure I have Egyptian. Hebrew, Persian, interesting. I have a character naming source book that's meant for writers, but sometimes it's really good for getting ideas for names. Rax, you're late. We've been talking D&D for ages. Or you could go Asian. Vikings in the swamps. Vikings? You'd have to make up a swamp Viking. You have to figure out what that culture's like. Or figure out, like, culturally what the equivalent would be. I need my Naga Green. 1 second while I grab that. I'm getting frustrated with my, snack scales right now. I need to get more green up in my snack scales. And some yellow. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. Sumerian is interesting. Yeah, you could go also Native American. You could go Cherokee or Choctaw. Except this would be a pretty advanced civilization. So I think maybe Sumerian fits because, or Egyptian, something like that. And maybe it also has kind of like a name like Falomir, except that, you know, everybody knows that its real name is, you know, X, which sounds nicer, except that it's such a pit right now that everybody's taken to calling it by something else. It does bring up some issues, Knight, but what you do is you just grab little bits of it. Grab tiny bits of it. So it's not like if we choose something that's vaguely Sumerian for a name, it doesn't, like, color everything, but it may color some things. It may tell us that maybe one of our port cities on one side of us is more of a Middle Eastern type of culture, you know? Maybe we're more, like, going into, like, Arabian Nights over there, you know? So we could do that, you know? It's all, again, it's geography, right? I like very loosely basing fantasy cultures on reality, but then you mash them together with other things to make them unique. Mash them together with regular fantasy tropes and various things. Mostly what I'm looking for is age 2 of the city. What nationality should we base it on? And if we can't come to an agreement on this right now, we don't need to. I could also just throw in the GM card and say, okay, I'm gonna make it this. If I don't get, like, if I come up with a really cool idea, I'll run it by you guys. Trying to think what makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of African cities too. Ooh, I like all those. You guys have some cool names. Penric, you have some really good naming skills. Yeah. That's Vikings, then. Sumeria. Sumerians were Vikings, just desert Vikings, or swamp Vikings. I like that Mardan name. And the Ramesh name. And the Shandathaway. That's a cool name. Yeah, you've got some good naming chops there, Pendrake. Let me think. Let me kind of kick those around in my head while we highlight snack and also get some of my Naga Green. I need some Lantern Yellow too, but I'm going to use Candlelight for the highlights because it's right at my hand. So what we're doing is we're trying to get in some of our blue on our rocks on the backside just to suggest that light. I'm going to start highlighting the snack here. Yeah, the rocks are coming along. Thanks, my darling man. Now that you're in chat. Yes, exactly. I've got a world to work with. Could be a border of two cultures. Right, and that would be really interesting, Dragon Eye. In fact, that's a great idea. Let's go there. And then maybe also you get a little bit of whatever the past indigenous culture was. Like, maybe there were actually people living here still from the Second Age when the current people moved in and said, hey, you know, you're not really doing anything here. Like squatters from, like, the previous... whoever used to own this land. Maybe it was even people who like their leaders actually gave this land or sold it to the new tenants, you know, like, what, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. However, this is a very young town, you know, and are very irritated at it. You know, maybe there was just a tiny little population still living here when the new people moved in. Our current heroes and their the people helping them. Yeah, I think the orcs abandoned the city, Chibi. I think they've gone deeper into the mountains. Yeah, and they actually could have a very sophisticated culture up there. That could be cool. That could be really, really cool. Let's make the orcs more sophisticated in this world. Like, and kind of snooty about it. Like, let's make the orcs kind of snooty about it. Like, and they really still don't like interlopers, and they're still pretty possessive. But that could be very interesting. And then coming from a half orc, like a half orc would be really kind of more like a half elf as far as culturally. Then, where they come from a very proud ancient culture, but where do they fit, right? Oh, I definitely built a chartreuse this time. Look at that. So that was with Naga Green and a touch of Candlelight. Yeah, forget Zimbabwe or Timbuktu. Right, exactly. See? So that's what I was thinking about. It could have been, actually, if we go all the way back, then let's make an ancient... Because then our second age actually could be the orcs. It could be the equivalent of Zimbabwe or something. And that the orcs mostly abandoned this city. And then, you know, maybe the last few families who were living here just sold it, essentially. Maybe they were the ones that didn't want to move into the mountains, and they ended up much poorer than the rest of the orcs, and they kind of resented that. So they were like, fine, we're gonna, like, sell this land, this old land that you think is cursed, to these new settlers for cash so that we can, you know, get affluent like the rest of you, and we're gonna screw you in the process because, you know, maybe there's still valuables here, and now we're selling our hereditary land just to piss you off because we don't like you guys anymore. That could be fun. That could be really fun. Actually, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. And in that case, this ancient gate is going to be orcish. Of orcish make. But perhaps the orcs who did move up in the mountains didn't retain all of their secrets. So, because, you know, cultures like boom and then they fall into kind of, you know, they kind of backslide a bit. So maybe the orcs have seen better days, but they don't like to acknowledge that. They don't want to talk about it. Japanese orcs have been done. That's what Sergio's. Aren't Sergio's orcs kind of based on that? David? The ones that he did for the Kickstarter?
What? Who?
Sergio's orcs. The ones he brought in the class. Aren't those Japanese-ish orcs? Or are they Chinese-ish orcs? You remember the models that he brought for the class.
I think they're more Japanese, because I think there's, like, Oni inspiration.
Yeah, so they're like Orc Oni, yeah. So that's been...
like a Japanese thing, if I recall correctly.
I kind of like the idea of Sumerian orcs, guys. Sumerian Babylonian orcs. I think I want to go for that.
Do you know
Assyrian.
Like, Sumerian mythology?
I do know a little bit of it. I can reread up on it. I was really into it when I was a kid because I loved Egypt and all of those ancient cities. I mean, Tiamat comes from Sumerian, doesn't she? Or is she Babylon? I can never remember if Tiamat is Babylonian or Sumerian. And Marduk
came from Dungeons and Dragons.
No, Tiamat is actually a god. If you didn't know. She is a mythological creature. She's not a dragon necessarily in mythology, since she's a force of nature. She has a devouring power. But Marduk killed her. At least I thought so.
No, I believe you.
I mean, it's been a long time. I was a kid reading a lot of mythology. Yeah, she's eventually Babylonian. Thank you, Chibi. I knew you'd have it. Yeah, the original wall could be Neolithic. Yeah, that could be really, really old, built by ancient magic Pendrake. That would be fun. Because then the modern snooty Babylonian Sumerian orcs maybe don't remember how to do that anymore. I love to throw in. Everybody's got a little motivation. Got to give everybody a little bit of motivation. So yeah, so this tract of land, including the ancient wall, was moved out of by most orcs ages ago, and they moved up in the mountain where there were a lot of mining resources, and they essentially created a mountain fortress culture. And a few families didn't go with them, didn't think it was wise to abandon the ancient places. And the descendants of those families, though, maybe weren't as superstitious, and mostly were looking at dollar signs. So when whoever decided to found this version of the city, this age, the third age of the city, the town, whoever came along and offered them cash, then those orc families are like, well, sure, we'll take your cash and thumb our noses at those guys who moved off into the mountains who turned out to be right about moving. Or maybe, there's still some people in the local family that know about the old legends of this place and why it shouldn't have been sold, and maybe they're kind of unhappy. Probably the older orc population. Maybe there's some nasty things associated with this city. Yes, correct, exactly. That's what I thought, Margaret. That's why the name Tiamat can't be copyrighted. It's actually mythological. But the five-headed dragon associated with Tiamat can be. Yes. Copyright law is so weird. Alright, so we've got some nice lighter scales now. I'm going to bring up these scales just a little bit to be in line with that. When you're doing light sourcing, if you're working on a different part of the model, you bring it up a little bit. Make sure you're remembering that your light sourcing has to make sense. It has to be bright and go to slightly less bright and then go to less bright. So I want to bring in a little stronger yellow here on her rump to go along with the yellow here on the cloth. Yeah, we can play with that. We can play with that with the orcs. Yeah, right. Runes that the current residents have forgotten how to translate and folklore about it. Yes, 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 yes. Fun stuff like that. Yeah, Chibi. All sorts of... And you know what? I bet there's tons of stories about it. Like, you could say those runes and remake the world, or you could destroy it, or maybe the wall just falls down, or maybe the wall becomes magical, or, I bet there's as many stories or suppositions about that as there are people who are willing to talk about it. And that would be the fun part, right? For the adventurers, maybe figuring out which one is right. Maybe none of them are right. Maybe it's something completely weird. That's the fun part about world building. This is the fun. This is the fun, guys. Okay, so we've got a pretty good idea of where we're coming from, of even the shape of our town and the age of our town. We haven't really decided about the cultures on two sides of it, but now you know what, guys? Now we've got technically 3 cultures. That could make this town very valuable if those cultures could be made to come together over some stuff. If somebody could build some bridges. We could do this, like... There's lots of things. So, like, you've got little town. Here we go. Let's draw a little town. Little peninsula town in the Caldera. So you've got little peninsula town in the Caldera, and back this way, you have that orc culture, which is very high-end and isolationist. Kind of like old ancient China, maybe. Isolationist. And that's another reason they would really hate it if the few orcs that were still living here sold this area. They would really not like that. That puts foreigners like on their doorstep. So they're up here in the mountains. Like, we'll do mountains, mountains, mountains. And then we got to figure out who's east along the coast and who's west along the coast. So that gives you 3 different cultures, possibly advanced or not as, depending on what we want to do. But we could have a city here and a city here. And this is your little hot spot in the middle. And that could be fun. You could go, that is a great setting, because that lets you go, if your characters want to go political with the game, you can go that way. If they want to go adventure with the game, if they want to go like Kingmaker and like help the city build and become its rulers eventually, you can go that way with this setting. This is the greatness of creating a setting with a lot of different possibilities and a lot of cultures. Yeah, Peruvian Indian might be interesting. Inca, yeah, We'll look at the different... I kind of like the Sumerian orc idea, though. I'm really stuck on that. I've never seen Babylonian Sumerian orcs. If you guys know of any, let me know. But Rax, we can introduce that later on in the game. Yeah, that could be. We could go with the Aztec stuff, right? The El Dorado. Yeah, we have to figure out alliances and disagreements, right? And of course there are subcultures. I'm going to permit that term right now, Shadow Raven, but do keep it a little clean in the discussion here. I want this to be a friendly chat for kids, and I know most kids know that word, but I do want to keep it a little cleaner here. Think like you're at Paint Club, and somebody's 6-year-old is sitting next to you. BrainSmart, welcome. If you're new, welcome. My camera is actually a document camera. It's really awesome. I love it. I bought it because I was getting so frustrated with the webcams. I used to use a Logitech C20, and now that's my face cam. But the fact that I had to like fudge around with software, to make it like zoom in and hold focus and all that was really annoying. So what I have now is an IPEVO, IPEVO, VZ-X, and it's, I think, the wireless version, although I always have it wired. But it's a document camera, so it can get so close so you can see everything. I love it because it's beautiful. It's in focus. All of its controls are on like the arm of the mount, and so I can change focus, and I can actually, with just a touch of a button, I can zoom out or in. I can actually get really close. So if I want to show you guys how to highlight tiny scales, I can do that. It's a lovely camera. Like, it was not cheap. When I ordered it, they were $300, and then when COVID hit and all sorts of teachers had to teach from home, the price spiked up as high as $500. Hopefully they're back around $300 now. I would say so far worth every penny. I've been using this, I got it before I moved out here, so almost a year now, I want to say. I've been testing and using this. It's coming up on a year. I should figure it out. Maybe this winter it'll be a year, but it's never hiccuped on me. Like, the worst thing that it does is if I unplug it while the computer is on and then I replug it in, sometimes my OBS doesn't want to read it. Doesn't want to, like, register that it's there. So I have to restart the computer with the camera plugged in, and that fixes it every time. Chibi, you're going too far ahead. We'll talk more about this. I think we've done a good amount of world building today. We have some interesting potential to follow up. We know that we're living in a caldera, a city built inside a caldera that is very tropical, maybe even swampy. Maybe one side of the city is lower and swampier, and one side is more higher and mountainouser. That's a word. And then there was like an ancient city on this, and maybe it's sunk. Part of it's sunk. Maybe this used to be a full caldera. And then we know that we have an ancient orc culture that used to live here, and they're up, and they have an advanced culture up in the mountains. And then we know that we've got 2 other big cities, like within sailing range, so that this little city was mostly bought because somebody figured it would be a money pit, nice stopover port. But that hasn't developed because of arguments between these 2 places, and maybe even a lot of incursions from the orc culture. Maybe even more monster incursions. I mean, because the orcs are up there. They don't care if they drive the monsters that they're driving away down toward the coast, do they? So, you can get carried away fast. I'm gonna stop there. I want to now, the great thing about creation is that you don't have to do it all, and sometimes you don't want to. Like, this is a great brain dump. So, like, write down these ideas, and you can bring them up again in the future when we start fleshing out that orc culture a little bit more. Especially if one of our characters turns out to be orcish, a half-orc. Then we definitely want to, for him or her, we definitely want to figure out some things about where they come from and which orcs their family was allied to. Do they still have alliances with some of the orcs that moved up in the mountains, or are they like pariahs? That sort of thing. But the great thing is you get a really good stopping point. You always want to end on a good stopping point. You don't want to exhaust yourself with ideas, because if you stop with this tantalizing idea of, oh, we've got cities along the coast, who are they? Who are they? That leaves us something to think about for next time. And that keeps our creative juices like going and not like totally tired out. Yeah, y'all calm down and let the rest of us. Yeah, essentially, I actually thought about this a little bit this morning, is that do let everybody else get a shot. And if it gets to the point where we've got too much chat going on and it's really hard for me to keep up with it, because I still am going to be painting during these streams, we can do polls instead. So we can somebody comes up with a really good idea, we can poll it instead of just going with the flow in the chat. I'd like to keep it organic, and I'd like to keep it mostly chat, though. So yeah, if you have been talking a lot, like, back off and let other people talk a bit from time to time. I know you guys are really, really considerate that way, so I know you'd be cool with that. But yeah, definitely let people... Sometimes there are intensive creative people that take a while to percolate, so we do want to let everybody kind of get their ideas in. Because I know some of you are like me, are kind of natural world builders. I really do like this this orcs idea, though, this ancient orcish civilization idea. There's a lot of potential there. Yeah, I don't have the disembodied voice. That's why, actually, I just posted, if you haven't been on my Discord and you are on my Patreon, I'm looking for a couple of moderators to help me moderate my channel. Essentially, have a respect for your fellow humans, know a little bit enough about Twitch and Discord that you can effectively moderate, and be somebody who's on the stream a lot. And I would like to add a couple of you, because I've got... Planer is always busy these days, and David is also, you know, often working during stream, which is actually true of a lot of you, I noticed, and so I'm going to back out a little bit here. Back out. There we go. Sometimes when you're doing a lighting effect, you really got to back off and see if you think it's working. I'm okay with this. I think I need to bring up my light a little bit more yellow here to make sure there's a definite correlation between the light falling here and here and here, and now I've added yellow to this, so I really need to add yellow to this. I'm okay with my blue underlights, though. It lets me highlight the rocks down here with just a little bit, and it isn't golden, which it wouldn't be. So I kind of am liking these rocks right now. Yeah, I like some economics too in Ara. Like, already I'm going to tell you that there's also an island chain off of this caldera. Because there totally has to be. And maybe they're growing a lot of, like, tropical fruit, and there's a lot of fish out there. So maybe you've got, like, little local, like, small-time fishing fleets going out. Those islands could also work as a kind of a weather break. So that, you know, big waves that come in aren't going to... They mostly wouldn't go into the caldera, but I'm thinking about a place in Hawaii that I visited, which is a great bay for snorkeling, but it's a lot like this. It's not quite as long a peninsula on the one side, but it is like an old caldera. And there are really strong currents in that caldera. Like if you get anywhere beyond like the first, say, 50 yards, there are hazards, you know, that you could get swept out to sea very easily. So ships maybe don't have as much of a problem with it, but and it'll go with the tides, of course. But yeah, but not a good swimming spot. So I think maybe I'll make a chain of islands. And the islands may also have some, like, you know, like pigs, and they may have a little bit more room to do maybe a little bit more agriculture, just like Hawaii does. Oh, Chibi. At this point, Chibi, you just go talk. Have fun. We'll come back to it. If any of your ideas that you're throwing out stick, then we'll come back to it. But I definitely like the economics in Ara. Like, I start with climate, and then I build cultures and economics from there, typically. Alrighty. I think I want a little bit more of a purple shadow there. I used purple to shade here, so I'm going to use a little bit of purple to shade this, just to get that color hint in there. And then we're consistent, because I've got a purple shadow here, purple in our shadows here, and then purple in our shadow there. You start with factions, AZ? Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Pirate campaigns can be fun. Yeah, and that's another thing you could do with this setting that we're creating, right? Like, do people still use Obsidian Portal? Like, is that still a thing, guys, as far as, like, putting notes up on your world and pictures and things like that? Because I have an Obsidian Portal account, so that's easy for me to do. To just write up some of this little stuff that we've decided. It would be cool to make it available for everybody. Because if we're going to create this world, it's neat to make it available for all sorts of people. And that way, anybody who's interested in it, who stumbles onto the stream while we're talking about it, they can go read about the world. And maybe they decide to use it in their game, or use a variant of it in their game. There's a lot of potential in this setting we're building. I really like it. Thank you for helping me build it. I would never have thought of, like, Babylonian Sumerian orcs in an advanced culture in the mountains. That's awesome. World Anvil? Thanks, Knight. Let me make a note. I'll go and check out World Anvil when I am going to work out today. Hey guys, I get to use my gym, my apartment complex gym today. Actually, I made a reservation. Like, they're letting limited people in. So, World Anvil. I will go see. Yeah, we can do all sorts of fun stuff. This will be great. Even if we get, like, if we, like, really flesh out, like, certain NPCs who become big movers and shakers in the town, we could totally get character models for them and paint them too, guys. I think this is going to be so fun. This is going to be such a fun project. And I don't know anybody else out there on Twitch doing this. Like, maybe I'm wrong. If there are people doing this out on Twitch, let me know. But this cool combination of creation and painting, talking about character, we'll get into character development now, since we've got a setting now, so we can start. I'm looking for those of you on my Patreon and on my Discord. I'm looking for suggestions for models. So if you know of, like, the most super cool monk model ever, if you know of the most super cool cleric model that you'd always want to see me paint, we're looking for super cool models, neat models that people really like. Nothing niche. I'd rather not go anything too old. Looking for newer sculpts. I think I need a little bit of shading now between these scales. I've got nice heavy shading up here. I don't have as much down here. Now with the light falling, I wouldn't have as much, but I think I would have some shading going up from the side here. So I'm going to bring in my purple and do some lining with it, because it's my darkest color right now. AZ, did you see, if you like Goonies, did you see the model from ReaperCon? Jason Weeby sculpted One-Eyed Willie on his ship before it sailed. I don't know if you saw that or not, but if you are a Goonies fan, you need to pick up this mini if it's still available. It's called Dead Men Tell No Tales. The colors might, every once in a while, if I put something that's too colored in the frame, the colors tend to shift, but there we go. We have shifted a lot, though. We've brought in more cool on the tail. The tail looks more real. It's more in line with this now. Yeah, isn't it awesome, AZ? Yeah, I really love it. I'll probably be doing more painting on it over time on my stream, because I really do like him. I like how he's coming along, and I'd like to start on the pirate. This is why I write too, Val. I love, like, creating stories. Like, D&D, actually, I talked to George about this, George R.R. Martin. And he agreed that when you're a writer, you use the same muscles for your writing as you do creating a D&D game. It's actually why he isn't running any games right now, not for several years. Because at some point he realized that he needed all of his creativity to go to the Song of Ice and Fire. And so he stopped running games because it was just taking too much. But yeah, I'm excited about this because I think this stream is high potential. I think that this idea could be really appealing. It's very nice because it engages the audience. Like, it gives you guys stuff to think about and talk about, and a story to talk about, like, as we're painting. And I can still stop and, like, explain painting things from time to time, but, then we can get back into the story. So this is early days, so we'll do mostly, like, world creation. And mostly I'll be doing this on Thursdays. But if this gets super popular, I'll switch over. And if I catch up on my commission work. Need to catch up on my commission work. But then I can maybe do it Wednesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Thursday on my Painting Big stream in the afternoons. I think it would be super fun. Because I look at the D&D channel, and it's cool to watch really entertaining people play D&D. But I think it's even cooler if you can involve your audience in playing D&D. It takes a bit more wrangling. And I don't know, I'm sure we'll run into hiccups, and we'll have to figure stuff out. But I'm up for it. I think it could be super fun. So I'm using some purple to line these scales, guys, to get just a little bit of delineation in between these scales again. Yeah, exactly. Pick a figure, and then I'll paint it, and we all decide where the figure fits in the world. We talk about, where they're coming from, You know, how did they join this adventuring party? How did they meet? Like, once we have a couple of characters, we can talk about how they met each other, you know, what they think out of each other, why do they work together, things like that. And we could do it organically, and it'll be super fun. And then as we're painting the figure, we can paint the figure in line with the personality that's emerging, right? Which is always what I like to do with D&D characters. If I've got the time, if I'm painting character figures like for Reaper, or when I used to do it for eBay, I was always like kind of creating a character and figuring out what they were about, and that helped me make decisions about things like colors. You know, if there were the type of character to wear, you know, really garish color like red and orange, or if they definitely were more, you know, a naturalistic palette, made more sense for their personality and stuff like that. Oh, you can only watch streams on Fridays now? Bummer, AZ. Well, I'll still be doing the Reaper stream, which I won't be doing much of this, the world building stuff on. Reaper stream stays Reaper stream. Except today I decided to make an exception because I'm streaming on my own thing. But yeah, Reaper stream will definitely be more paint oriented. But I really want the Painting Big channel, I think, to grow off of this. I'll tell you guys, streaming on the D&D category yesterday resulted in far better numbers than streaming on art. So I think this is going to be awesome for my channel. I'm really looking forward to it. That's half of why I'm excited about it. Half of it is I just love world building, and world building with all of you is just super fun. But I'm also excited just because I see like this could be a good way to grow my Twitch channel, like really engage an audience for it. And it's super awesome because it leverages the fact my storytelling vibe and my painting vibe, which is fantastic. I mean, when you've got something you're good at and you've got two things you're good at and you can make both of them work for you, like, go for it. Yeah, we'll do NPCs too. I want to concentrate on the player characters at first. But if we do, and in the course of creating this, if there's an NPC that really catches everybody's imagination, maybe it's the beleaguered mayor, maybe it's the clever merchant who's brought in her resources to try to make this a success. I kind of already have a character in mind that's like that. I think there's probably a clever merchant. Maybe her husband died. Maybe he was even an adventurer. And she married him originally because she had a taste for adventure, and he was like the best of the options her family like offered her. But now she's on her own, and she's got a fair amount of cash, and she's like, I think I want to come to this little town and see if we can make a success of this. And who knows what her, like, some of her underlying motivations might be. But I kind of have a character in mind. That's one NPC. But we do need to get the player characters first. We can define that there are people like that in the town, but we do need to definitely get our player characters up and running. So I look forward to any suggestions you may have about models. I will also be doing some model searches on Darksword and Reaper. But if you know other companies, guys, actually, I'll ask now. If you know any other companies that are also doing good character models for role-playing games, let me know. Because I'm very interested in featuring a number of different people on my personal stream, so. Got a little bit of rub off on these little scales. Kuro Clean Brush. Is that, are they doing 3D? Like, is it a printable thing, Nomad? Do they have a web store? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Stonehaven. Are they good? I'll take a look. Stonehaven and Kuro. I've heard of Kuro. I'll check those out, in addition to Darksword and Reaper. Yeah, but if you're on my Patreon, then you are hopefully also on my Discord. A lot of this will be done through Discord. I want to definitely make sure my Patreons have a good hand in this project. Patrons, rather. Patreons. You can tell where my brain is. Hey, and it's actually 11. Wow, that made the time go fast, didn't it? So, Kiri having delayed the stream, we will go a little longer. I'm still touching up scales. Don't want to lose my purple delineation line, but I do want to touch these guys up. These little scales are going to be prone to rub off, so what I'm going to do is grab my sealer that I mixed up, and I'm going to test it. Since I added some anti-shine additive, I want to test it a little bit. I think I'll test it on the flat bed of the water here. And we'll see if it frosts or if it doesn't. Although just that little bit of shine there shows me that when I put some water effects in here, it probably is going to read just great as water. I haven't even painted that blue yet. I'm going to paint it over that. Whenever I doctor my sealer with a little bit of anti-shine additive, I really like to test it somewhere I know I'm going to paint over, just in case I've overdone the matting agent. Oh yeah, Kuro is Ian. Got it. Righteous Steel Minis. Is that another one? Put them up on the Patreon, guys, in the D&D thread. Put on these companies, little companies that might have a good character mini that we could use. Although it helps if you know that, like, hey, this company has a kick-butt cleric or a paladin. I also want to say up front that I want at least one of these characters to be of color. So we don't need, like, we're definitely going to paint one as a more African skinned, and we could possibly even do also an Asian themed character. I would like to do that for diversity's sake. All right, so I've matted my sealer down. See how matte that is? That's really matte now. Like that, the shine that you see is the wet part of this. But this part, so adding that little bit of brush out and sealer made this go extremely matte, dead matte. Now notice how it shifts the color, guys. This is why I say that Reaper paints are not dead matte for a reason. Look at how much more kind of gray and lighter this area looks, when actually it's the same walnut brown as this is. And so that's what happens when you dull a finish a lot. So I don't know if I want to go that dull. I think I'm going to add a little bit of extra brush on sealer to bring it up a bit. This is why you test this stuff. And dark colors are the best ones to test on, because they're the ones that tend to kind of look a little more reflective. So got my sealer. I'm going to add a couple more drops, and that's going to add a little more life into it. Effing cool. Kobold Press. I don't know. I've never seen them, Nomad Zeke. Remember, I've been a very busy Ann for the last couple years with getting this Patreon off the ground and still working my real job for the first part of it. If you have a company that you think is family friendly, has cool sculpts, and possibly has the cool sculpts for the characters that we're thinking about, put it up in the Patreon. Or if you're not on my Patreon, ask somebody else to post it up. Who is? There's plenty of patrons here in the chat. So if somebody could do that, that would be lovely. All right, so I painted a bunch of matting agent over the rocks here to test it again. Yeah, we could go with Native American. I mean, the thing is, when you get to brown skin tones, is it's hard to differentiate Native American from some other cultures. I find, brown skin is the most common skin of humanity, and I just want to represent. I don't want everybody to be white. Now, I'm already thinking about half-orcs and stuff, so. But we are definitely in a southern, like, area of whatever our globe looks like, or equatorial. Yeah, we'll see about the Bones. Bones 5 had a lot of stuff. Ian produced at least one mini. I don't know if we'll end up like doing, since we're being very specific about our orcs being Babylonian Sumerian type of Delios. I don't know that there's minis out there that would really fit. But I'm more worried. First, we want our player characters. Guys. Not interested in monster minis yet. All of this will come in the future. First, I just need my paladin, my cleric. Got a bard, I think. Got a bard. Probably have a mage. Or sorcerer. I'll probably use her, because I really like her. And I like her yellow dress, and I already have part of a story in my head for her. I'm going to do a bit of lining down here on the bottom of the scales, because it actually washed out a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to just rip off a culture. You want to kind of like create a new version of it. But on the other hand, and this is actually worth bringing up about Native Americans, a lot of Native American cultures in general have asked us to stop using their cultural IP, so to speak. So that would be a reason not to do it, out of respect for that request. They're kind of sick of us folks like stealing their mythology and stuff and running away with fantasy versions of it. And so they made a request a while ago that we not do that. So that would be actually a vote against Native American. Yeah, but that's not a standard D&D race, though, Nemedzik. I mean, it's cool to have cool minis, but we need an adventuring party that can appeal to people that are playing D&D. Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather not, like, have a Native American person stumble onto my stream and get mad because we are representing a fantasy version of their culture because they asked us not to. So, yeah. That would be the reason not to do that. But I would like at least one African painted mini and possibly an Asian painted mini. Yeah. We'll see if we can or can't. I mean, if we have a bunch of, like, if we have a dragonkin and we've got a tiefling and we've got all that stuff, then we probably, we might not have as much room to do polyethnic D&D, humans. But I mean, like, Pathfinder has done a pretty good job, I think, of putting different skin tones on their iconics and things like that. And so I would like to do that if we end up with several humans. All right, so I think actually my matting, my sealer is kind of at a perfect, I think it's at a perfect level. It matted that down so it's not so shiny. You can actually see the highlights and shadows. And I think it's going to be a good sealer for our scales back here. So the problem with big metal models like this is that you usually have to put on several layers of sealer. And I'm just going to slobber it on. Kind of get it, pop any bubbles by blowing on them. The stiffer the brush you use on a surface like this, the more bubbles you're going to get. Just make sure to blow on them to get them to go away. And also I don't want rub off on my rocks back here, so I'm going to seal that. And it's just a matter of just brushing on a nice layer of sealer. Once you got it to the mattness or not mattness you want, just go ahead and brush that on. And I'll probably end up putting like 3 layers on these scales. I'm just going to put a layer on to seal what I've got now. Then I'm going to probably do another hit of highlights just to make sure that I'm covering over any spots that are rubbed off. And I'll put another layer on it. So if I build up several layers, I can protect this area pretty well. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Snack. I really kind of like her. I'm kind of tempted to keep her. Though I am going to probably sell Mr. Dragonkin from our paint-off, or our paint-along on the Patreon. But Snack is still up in the air. Snack is up in the air. We'll see. Once I do our water effect and the plants and all that, I'll figure out if she's going to stay with David and me or if she's going to go and try to find a new home. Alright, and we didn't get to shading and highlighting the metallics today, so we may have to do that on a different day. I still do need to also highlight this there's a little bit of sand and earth here because I wanted the pool to be here. And I need to put some blue, some dark blue in this area as a groundwork before I do water. And then when I do water and do the texture of the water, then I can add in some highlights from the fire on the water. Alrighty. We are almost a quarter after. I think that's about where we started, and we didn't have any key emergencies. So I think we're almost done. Any questions, guys? Any anythings? Oh, Ron was trying to get Snake Lady? I didn't catch that. Ron wants Snake Lady. He's getting Juliana. Ron is definitely getting Juliana. I'm gonna definitely pack her up for him. But I didn't realize he was trying to get Snack as well. I missed that. Ron shouldn't get greedy, dang it. They're not paying me for these. I mean, they're paying me to do Twitch. But they're, anything I send to Reaper these days is just a gift. And, definitely they've done enough for me to just send them Juliana, no problem. But I like Snack. I might, throw Snack in the box too. I bet he did. We'll see. We'll see. They did give me, store credit to buy stuff for the stream, so maybe I will. But if I really like Snack, then I'm going to be like, aw, but I like Snack. I haven't made her eyes blood red yet either. She's going to have blood red eyes, I decided. Really bright red. They're tiny, so it makes sense to make them a very bright color. Alright, so I need to touch that up. There's a lot of little touch-ups, and actually I love that. Okay, so the sealer has really taken the shine off that back area. See? It's lovely. You can now see it. It all, like, looks correct. So yeah, sealer for the win. I do have to touch up a few of those scales before I put on another layer of sealer. So this is coming along really well. Toss a rubber toy snake. Ha ha ha. Channel on Discord, there is a D&D. D&D. Pendrake. Put that all in. Put it all in there. Ah, Snack fell over. That's a problem with having a top-heavy metal model. I'm going to actually put some of my sealer mix that I have dialed in perfectly on these rocks now. And on her belly. I may as well seal the whole thing at this point because I have it dialed in perfectly to exactly where I like the sealer. So it's like, well, I may as well use it. I have a puddle of it. It'll help protect everything. Because she is a pretty heavy metal model. Mostly keeping it off of the metallics, but since I'm doing shaded metallics, I don't so much mind if I get a little bit of sealer on it. Since I'm going to be putting regular paints in to shade it anyway. There we go. Yep. Cool, you like the concept? Thanks, Dragoneye. I like it too. I think we're going to have some fun. Excellent. All right, everybody, let's call it. It's 1:15. My dog is like still firmly asleep, and I haven't drunk any of my tea. So I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and yeah, I'll try to get some. We can keep working on our characters' choices for our models on over the weekend, and maybe you guys can put up some cool suggestions. Oh, we need to raid. You're right. You're right, Val. All right, who's cool? Who's up, guys? Let's take a look. Who is up? Oh no, I gotta mute this. Mute. There we go. We have Sky Daddy. She's doing a clown today. That sounds very, very scary. I think I might want to do Miniatures Den, unless you guys have a different person. Dices is up. Dices could use a nice big raid. Do you guys want to go just Dices? Let's do Dices. She could use some more viewers. So remember to take the raid out of your address line, or I think you can just refresh. Raid just Dices. So make sure to give her viewers. Thanks for showing up today, guys. It was fun. I had a good time. And Snake Lady is getting really, 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 really close. There we go. Raid is queued up. You guys have a good weekend. I'll see you Monday on Reaper, all right? Have a great one.
Oh my gosh. Painting big. Hello, thank you for the raid. Welcome. Welcome, raiders. Do come in. Hey, McWar. Hey, Painting Big. How are you? How you doing there today? Welcome, raiders. How you doing there, Ann? How was your stream? Aw, I appreciate that. Welcome, Raiders. I'm just Dices. Welcome to my stream. I really appreciate that. Really into that, so perfect timing. How is it Friday? I don't know. It was a quick moving week, wasn't it? Thank God it's Friday. Oh, it was one of those weeks. Like, oh my god, it's the weekend. So what did you guys work on your stream today? It's Monday. Actually, it's still March. If you look at the calendar, we just haven't left March yet. Who am I listening to? Who am I listening to? This is Remote Control by The Age of Electric. I've been working on it for a while with a big display bass. Can I do a water effect? Oh, I'm so jealous. I need to learn how to do basses. I have zero clue. I stick a couple tufts in and call it a day. That's it. That's me basing. That's the extent of my basing. Yeah, guys, it's Song Request Friday, so feel free to put music in. Nice. Some aha. Still arcading, stupid meeting. No, not meetings. Hey, Ford. Aw, it's good to see you. Welcome in. Right, it does. No, basing is a big deal. I am basic. Yes, Rathmore, I'm basic. Yeah, I don't have the bass for this girl yet. She's a bust. She's not the full model. So Taurus is gonna paint that for me. Or print it rather, words. How do I word? Yeah, that's right. Super amps. Yeah, those are goals. Become as good as Anne. One day. One day. I shall improve. Take on me. Take me. Okay, I think I need to stop buying paint. I can't stop buying paint. Do you want to see? I have like all the look at my Reaper paints. I have a whole drawer just for skin tones. It's true. No, Anne, it's absolutely true. Yay! Curse you, Twitch. Thanks, Anne. I cannot, Heathen. Don't make me do it. I am not a high singer. I cannot hit that note. No, I've definitely improved. Ooh, if you haven't seen, what's the first thing I ever painted? It's itty bitty, but this is my first mini right here. I painted this on stream. This was my first stream paint. 1 year ago, I painted this guy on stream. Oh, Zen, thank you so much for gifting that sub. Mine. I'm sure you've been painting a bit longer than I have. I don't have, my favorite minis are usually commissions, and I have to give them away. Take on me. But yeah, that's my first mini. Aw, Chibi, thank you. Yeah, the first ones I painted were for friends. My first Reaper, I have my first Reaper mini too. Here's my first Reaper mini. Do you, Holly? Yeah, that was a long time ago. This is a long time ago I painted this guy. My first bust. Alright, it's show and tell day. How long have I been painting? Barkley, a year. I started painting just before I started streaming, but not by much. So it's been a year. I just had my stream anniversary at the end of August. And then here's my first bust. For those, here we go. Here's a side by side. I still love this model, don't get me wrong. And then there's my most current bust that we're working on. Practice. This girl just looks like she's wearing too much makeup. I've learned how to do more subtle. Right? I still have the Grudge to do. He's sitting. I had to do it. I bought this for myself. I haven't painted him yet. I have a thing for busts. It's my thing. We all have a thing, and mine is for busts. And chibis. I like chibis. And my chibi bust. And my chibi bust. I don't know, there's something really fun about working on skin tones and being able to do faces and stuff like that. A group Grudge paint along, that would be fun. You can get them from Reaper. He is a Reaper bust. Where are you getting those busts? So this one is by Midnight Heroes. I have both the Midnight Hero busts. Where's my other one? He's hiding. Yeah, Reaper has busts too. On the website is only the one, but Bones 5, I bought all the Bones 5 busts. So here's the other one that I started. Yep. So these guys are by Midnight Heroes. Yeah, they should be on the website. I can grab the link. Hold on. Yes, yes, guys, buy them all because I want more Reaper busts. I want more Reaper busts. All right, let's look for. So yeah, there is. All right, let's go look for. Yeah, they have all my money. So where are you? So I painted her differently. So this bust, I didn't add her shield. And I made her look like Jaina Proudmoore. here is that bus right there. Yeah, I have all the busts. Thanks, Chibi Army. Yeah, I love doing eyes. Eyes are my favorite. Now for these ones, if you do exclamation point what is it, it will show you where I got this bust. Tell them Dice sent you. Yeah, I would really appreciate that, guys. If you order anything, just let them know I sent you along. Chibis are not scary. Chibis are super duper fun. I find them really good for learning to draw eyes because the eyes are so big. It allows you opportunity to do stuff where it's very difficult, I find, on smaller eyes. Yeah, so this one was 3D printed. There are places you can get the physical model from. Unfortunately, when Zoltar's updated the what is it, he didn't include the code. So just Dices will get you 10% off at Nerd House Minis. And then I can't remember what the other one is. But yeah, if you go to Nerd House and use just Dices, you'll get 10% off. You have a small $6 budget? Aww. Scale 75. Yeah, I have scale 75 models as well. I also have this one by Black Sun that I've based. This one's by Black Sun. This one I pre-ordered. But yeah, busts and chibis are really good for practicing things like eyes and skin tones, where normal models, guys are so tiny. Like, here we go. Let's pull up another chibi for you. There's so many chibi options, because not everybody's like, oh, I don't want super cutesy chibis, which is totally understandable. So here's another chibi. This is my Siri chibi, who's still a work in progress. Just getting started and learning lots. Yeah, trial and error. Trial and error. What do you do with all your minis? They go on my shelf of shame mostly. Here, let's show you. Here, let's pull this up bigger so you can see. Alright. There we go. You ready to see this? Here, I will let you get a little sneak peek at behind the scenes. So there's a lot of them there. They go on my shelf of shame. Some of them do get purchased. I do. That is also true. JJ's not wrong. I do make them kiss. That's a thing. I do sell some of them when they're painted. I'll be working on that soon. I'm working with Freak Max on getting my painted stuff up and for sale. For those who'd like to purchase painted minis or chibis or busts without having to paint them. How do you choose what to paint for that? What do you mean? How do I choose what to paint for that? I don't... Oh, what to paint to sell? Anything that I feel is really good and I'm okay with parting with. This is really difficult, okay? part with things because you get attached. You love the things you've done well. Like some of these ones that I love them don't like this one. This was my experiment with Turbo Dork, and I am probably going to end up putting this one up for sale. Because I love it, but I can paint other things. And once again, these are 3D printed, so I can print it again and paint it differently. So the ones that I sell will be unique for what they are. I'm not going to paint anything identical again. Yeah, also, there's probably bits of my flesh in there somewhere. When you're buying this, you're also getting a bit of me. Oh, Mobroke, thank you, Sprock. Mobrock, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Alright, this is a painting stream. Let's get back to her. Yeah, basically, if you get a hold of one of my miniatures, you too could make a clone of me. I'm broke after 4 fights, yeah. Finally my backlog would get completed. Yeah, you just put me to work. I didn't go crazy with Bones 5, I have to say. I bought dragons and I bought the busts. That's it. Alright, so... Oh, that Kickstarter. Oh, Xander, thank you so much for that follow. Bones 5 and I got all the new paints and a couple minis for the kids to paint. Oh, that's awesome. The one of everything button. Yeah. I am surprised I resisted. It was hard. It was definitely hard not to buy everything. Hey, 40K, how are you? Good evening. Yes, Canadian Beavers. Didn't realize you weren't following. There's a good chance that Twitch, we'll blame Twitch. How you doing there, Xander? I just want to watch Buffy now. Back, had fun listening to a developer tell the manager the dozens of reasons why the application's latest release will not upgrade from the old version. Has to be replaced. Oh, that's exciting. Your wife is thankful. Definitely got Twitch. Well, if you guys got too much, you can always unload some of that stuff on me, just saying. Commissions are open. So we'll paint minis. She's crazy. She irons her jeans. My dad does that. Weird, right? How's the new house? It's good. It's comfy. I like it. I can look out the window. My other place, the windows were like here. So now I can be like, oh, look how nice it is. It's so lovely. You can't see, it's blinding. So I've closed one drape. I have a big inspiration. I'm going to try to stream for the first time tonight. Any tips when even streaming painting? Oh my gosh, I will definitely try to be there, Queenie, for your stream. So guys, if you're not following, go do so right now. I have to double check to make sure I'm following so I don't miss it later. Fairly certain I was. fix that. I will be there. My advice. Okay. Big advice. Do not get discouraged if you don't get a big turnout. You'll be streaming video games to prepare for yelling. That's how I started. I started with video games too. I played Sea of Thieves and then went to mini painting. So just have fun. Oh, I didn't even realize that. Shows how long I've watched it, Taz. I made sure to grab the new paints. I didn't grab the paints. I'm kicking myself. Yeah, don't be discouraged. Just do your thing. Just have fun. Basically, that's all it is. I sit here and I have fun, and you guys hang out with me. That's streaming. That's it. But I'm very excited for you, Queenie. We'll be there, Queentini. Guess I'll say I just keep calling you Queenie because reading is hard. 20-minute warning. Thank you, JJ. So I guess we'll get back to painting. This is Llama Girls. I guess I'll sit up straight. This is Llama Girls' all-time favorite movie, by the way. Yeah, just stick with it. Exactly. Don't let things... Oh, what was this? It got washed out? I was talking about my thing getting washed out. I missed something. The blowout white in the window place. You either live in heaven or in the sun. Not heaven.